All right, so welcome back. This is Module 2 of the Advanced Prompt Engineering for Journalists, and we're joined by my special guest lecturer, Reese, who desperately needs attention right now. And now he's done. And today we're going to talk a little bit about some complicated workflows, and in particular, skills and commands, and all the ways that you can customize these really powerful AI automated workflows so that they are aware of and are able to anticipate and get around any kind of pain points that you experience, and that the process in general is more repeatable and structured instead of just being a sort of roll of the dice wild card every time you ask it to do an identical task. So let's go ahead and jump in, and we're going to start by talking about what skills and commands are, what the plugins are, how they work, and how we can make them work for you. So the first question is, what is a skill? What is a plugin? How do we use these to create reusable tools for our AI CLI workflow? And the answer is super basic. It's a markdown file. Everything in AI these days is a markdown file. You need to learn and get familiar with markdown files because they are everywhere and they're really useful. Instead of something like a script or a Python workflow or something like that, these are just plain English or plain language instructions. There's no code or programming language in there. And the key thing here is that these only load when they are invoked or when they are called upon to be injected. And this is crucial because unlike something like an MCP, a Model Context Protocol, which is always loaded into the context of every conversation at the beginning, these only come into the picture when they are required or when they're relevant. So if you don't need them, they don't eat up your tokens. And another thing that makes these so useful is because they're just simple markdown files, they're really easy to share, edit, keep up and maintain, or to adapt to new situations as your needs and your workflows evolve. Now, a plugin, on the other hand, is simply a package of skills. It's basically a bundle of skills and commands that come together packaged as a plugin. So they can be things like, let's say you have one that is focused on improving the AI's ability to design and produce slides. Instead of just focusing on slides, or maybe just one orientation of slides, you have a collection of skills that all share very similar attributes and commands, but they're focused on particular one-pagers. And another one is focused on 16:9 slides. Another one is 3:4, and so forth. Maybe one is multi-page reports, but they all share the same design principles and instructions. So those get bundled as a plugin. And we have a couple of plugins that I've made for you specifically with PDF design called the PDF Playground that you can find at skills.mdidis.tech. And you can play around with them, you can dissect them, edit them, and change them to your liking. But all of these skills or commands show up as slash commands. When you type a / into the beginning of a message in your CLI agent, you will see below that a list of commands. And as you type more letters, the relevant skills or commands show up. Hooks automatically run. They don't require a / command. Hooks are simply triggered based on the context of the conversation, or in many cases, a keyword that is mentioned in the conversation that causes that hook to trigger and do things like hook the model and prevent it from going in one direction or prevent it from doing something. For example, a common one is pushing these changes to whatever coding project or app you're working on directly to the main branch, which is a big no-no in software development. You always want to create a pull request first so that other people can review it. So you would create a hook to prevent the model from pushing those changes directly to your branch, to your main branch. Now, of course, there are branch protection that you can put in place on GitHub to prevent anybody from pushing or merging directly to your main or master branch. But hooks are also useful for common scenarios where you might not even know what to know. For example, there's a concept known as a one-way door in programming, and this can be applied to other areas as well. A one-way door is a decision that you make or a door that you step through that once you've stepped through it and committed to those paths or that setting, it is very difficult or impossible to go back and undo those changes down the line. Things like choosing a particular database schema or choosing a particular programming language. And a hook can be set up to automatically recognize when one of those decisions or one-way doors are about to be entered or walked through, and it will stop the model and then tell it to do something, such as using something like the Ask User Question tool that comes in Claude Code to poll you and say, hey, this is a possible one-way door. Here are 2 or 3 alternative approaches that we can take that have different trade-offs. Are you sure you want to go through with your original decision, or would you like to explore one of these alternatives instead? This has saved me countless times. And of course, we have the one-way door skill available for you to download and edit at skills.mdidis.tech. But the point is, these are guardrails, these are context injections, these are preset reminders and assistive boosts to the model where it tends to struggle or where you've identified issues that need to be addressed when it's relevant, but not in every conversation. So just to recap here, a skill is a single tool that you build yourself or you build with your CLI agent. You go through a process, you've identified areas that you want it to remember or to avoid, or tasks that you want it to pay specific attention to, and you write them down in a plain markdown file, or you work with the bot to have it write it for you, and then you review it, and then you save it to your skills directory or your commands directory. Now, a plugin is just a collection of those tools and those skills that have been packaged and shared. You can make them yourself, have Claude or Gemini or Codex make them for you, but they're really mostly useful when you want to share a package of tools and skills and commands with other people, as you'll see at skills.mdidis.tech. So now that we've sort of covered the very basics of what a skill versus a command versus a plugin is, let's see it in action. Let's take a really heavy example that would only be possible in the CLI agent versus the web terminal, and let's go through that process and then use what we've learned to make sure that we avoid any pain points in future runs or future iterations by turning that workflow into a skill or a plugin or a stop hook that keeps us on track and makes sure that the model behaves very similarly, if not identically, each time and each future run. So the task that we are going to try to perform right now, and I'm going to fast forward through the boring waiting periods, but this is going to be a big one, so it might take a while, is we are going to say that we have a politician, maybe someone you're covering, and we would like to know what kind of content they are putting out on their social media platforms, in particular video content, which is notoriously difficult or labor intensive to scrape and process. So we want to do a content analysis of the video content. Let's just choose America's mayor, New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani. And we want to look at his Instagram posts, his Instagram reels, his YouTube channel, his TikTok, and maybe his Twitter or Facebook accounts. And we want to get all of the videos that he has posted onto our machine, and then we want to transcribe them. We want to maybe make sure that we don't miss any baked in text that appears on the screen that wouldn't be picked up by a transcript or by the actual video audio itself. And we want to let's have it take a screenshot every second of the video and then analyze all of those on-screen baked in text elements just to make sure we don't miss anything. Then we're going to have it put all of the results and the downloaded content into our project folder on our desktop and use Python or R or whatever language of your choice to do a content analysis across all of it. And then to top it off, we're going to have it create and build a interactive web page with a breakdown of the results and maybe some visualizations. So let's give that a shot now and let's see what we get. This is all going to be in a single terminal session on my computer. Okay, so to start off, we got 2 windows open here. We've got our terminal or PowerShell interface of choice. This happens to be my own Audio Bash. And we've got the local directory folder here, the Mookh folder that we have right on my desktop. And I want to open Claude Code inside this project directory. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to copy the path and we're going to navigate. We're going to change our directory to that path so that we end up in the Mookh folder, and then we're going to call our friend Claude. And I'm going to launch this in dangerously skip permissions mode because I don't want to spend a bunch of time waiting to approve everything, but I am going to be watching. You do that at your own risk. You can add dangerously skip permissions to skip permissions, as it says. And so what I'm going to do is I want to take that prompt that we said. So we've got all of his social media accounts loaded up, and I'll go ahead and just pull that over to the side here. Let's go ahead and drag Let's drag both of these up here. We're going to do this one for the left, and we'll do this one for the bottom right. That way, everybody can see everybody, and we're all good. So let's get started. What are we going to do first? We've already navigated to our directory. I've copied the prompt into my clipboard, and I'm going to paste it here. You can see that it truncates it. But then just for context, I'm going to go ahead and drop and say, here are the social media pages I want you to pull from. Make sure, for the purposes of this, we're going to say, make sure to pull at least the last 15 videos from each social media account page. And then we're just going to start pasting the URLs. There's Twitter, there's his TikTok, then we have his YouTube, and then we have his Instagram, and then we have his Facebook. So let's go ahead and send that. And we can see, scrape every video from Mamdani's Instagram, blah, blah, blah. Download them all, transcribe every word of audio, just like we saw before. And now this is going to run. So let's go ahead and see and watch, and I will speed up the video as necessary, and I'll try to stop and explain things as they're happening. So here we go. Substantial multi-step project. Senator Joe, still referring to me there. And you'll notice that right away it says, let me start by brainstorming. That's because I have a skill that has a trigger that anytime I have a big project or a design project, it loads the brainstorming skill, which is essentially the /plan mode on steroids. And you'll see why in a second. And it specifically uses the ask user question tool in a way that I find really, really great. I'm going to switch these over here for now. And we are going to do this so that we can see everything split nicely. So right now it's going through all of the files. It's going to look to make sure we have the recommended packages like YTDLP, which is going to allow us to download videos from YouTube, and it's installing that now. It's also looking for FFmpeg, which is another video processing tool. Any one of those like sketchy download this YouTube or TikTok video free websites that you've been to, use a combination of these packages, YTDLP, FFmpeg, all of that kind of stuff. It's also looking for OCR, optical character recognition packages that allow us to transcribe. And it's also looking into our GPU capabilities. I happen to have an NVIDIA RTX 4080 Super with about 16 gigs of VRAM, so that should help us process the videos necessary. Okay, so now it's asking me questions. What's the primary purpose of this analysis? And instead of having to type it out, I'm going to say use the Ask User Question tool. And that's going to pull up this interactive interviewing tool that I just appreciate. I can just press the number or select them. There we go. Perfect. So this is going to be for content and text analysis. How should we handle OCR for on-screen text extraction? Tesseract is not currently installed. That's a package. We can install Easy OCR. We can install Tesseract, or I can just say use your own vision. And then where should the project folder live? In the current repo, of course, yes. And now we're going to submit our answers. And you can see they're logged here. And while this is happening, I'm going to go ahead and pet my buddy. Okay, for the vision-based frame analysis, how frequently should we sample frames? Let's do every 5 seconds. Let's do every 3 seconds. 5 seconds is a bit too long. For whisper transcription, which model size should we use? So this is a free local source transcription model that you can download to your computer, which I already have. I'm going to use the large version just to make sure we get everything. And how interactive should the web page be structured? Let's do a scrolling report, multi-page app. For now, let's do a single page dashboard. That sounds good. Okay, so now it's given us approaches here. We're going to do a sequential pipeline, which it recommends to download all the videos first, batch transcribe them, batch frame extraction. I think that sounds good as opposed to doing a video per video end to end or a parallel or hybrid. Let's just do sequential changes. And for the vision-based frame analysis, which approach, we're going to use Claude Code here in this session or another interactive session. Now you notice that it wants to use the Vision API, but that costs more money, so we're going to do it right in this interactive session. And for the content analysis, what aspects matter most? I'd like some themes. I want to get sentiment and tone. I definitely want a cross-platform comparison, and I don't really need an on-screen text catalog. So I'm going to go with those answers and submit again. This already, compared to just sending a prompt and letting it run, is way more structured and way more effective. And it also helps you to work with the bot to sort of plan out in your head and map out some questions and answers that maybe you hadn't even considered to begin with, especially if you're not familiar with this kind of a pipeline and you've never done things like this before. Okay, so we've got our key decisions and we're going to review this, looking at the project structure here. Okay. This looks good to me. It's going to break it out into all these folders and files. It's got the pipeline stages. This sounds good. Okay, this looks good. And if I wanted to change it, I could do that here. Looks good. So now it's going to write a spec or a breakdown, basically a PRD of what's required. The more documentation and the more planning documents you have, the more effective and more likely you are to be effective in future iterations if you wanted to repeat this process, for example, in a new conversation or a new session. And you can see here, it's already going through and it's going to be making its folders in my OneDrive here, Mookh, Docs, Superpowers, and specs. And it's going to create a markdown file in here so that if you wanted to take this spec and you want to bring it to a different model or you wanted to do it in a different iteration, it's already broken down and laid out for it so that you can jump right back in instead of going through this process again. There it is, video analysis description, and we can see our goals fully laid out here. We can review and edit that anytime we want. And here we go. It's going to review its own spec and then it's going to commit this and it's going to basically save its progress to the local Git repo here. Okay, so it's telling me the spec is written and committed. So go ahead and review it and let it know if you want it to make me to make any changes. So I'm going to just say good. I'm going to say we're good to go. And I'm going to let it rip. And now you see a different skill has been called. This is part of the Superpowers plugin. This is the writing plans skill. Each one of these skills has custom instructions in it to improve or enhance the base ability, the baseline ability of the Claude Code agent to write plans. So someone at Superpowers or whoever created this has gone in and said, I think that this is missing some steps, in particular, probably the ask user question part and other components that make it more effective if you add additional steps, and it's codified that into the writing plans skill and the brainstorming skill. And then you'll notice that when this is done, it's going to go ahead and it's going to transition to the implementation skill. Boom, there we go. We've got our plan. Here it is. A video analysis implementation plan. It's got a bunch of tasks with a work tree here. And now we're being given two different options for implementation. One is sub-agent driven, a fresh sub-agent per task. The workers are dispatched. The reviews come in of their outputs in between tasks, and any course corrections that are required are made. And if this is a long pipeline, which this is, that is what this is best for. Then there's the inline execution, and to be honest, I haven't done much with that yet, but I do use this Superpowers plugin all the time and almost always do sub-agent driven development. And you'll notice that, boom, it starts loading the sub-agent driven development skill from the Superpowers plugin. So we're going to step back and watch it work as it lists out all of the tasks and starts getting to work on them. And there it is. We've got our full list of tasks, and each one is blocked when necessary. And it's going to start grinding its way through these, and you'll see that information appear as it goes. And if we look, we can already see some of the videos coming in. Let's see if any of them actually are real videos. And it is. We have a full video that is 415 megabytes, and we've already got them coming in as we speak. And as you can see, we've also got TikTok videos already coming in, if not done. So now we've got YouTube and TikTok done. Let's see how Twitter is looking. Instagram and Facebook still waiting for those to come in, and those are notoriously more difficult, especially Instagram, which has a lot of anti-scraping measures in place to prevent you from doing things like this. But there are ways to get around them, especially when you're doing it for research purposes and you are an actual human being guiding an agent or a bot to do this. The main thing they're trying to protect against is recurring auto scraping that just farms their content. And I will note that unlike downloading the videos manually from something like TikTok, for example, you do not have a watermark. If you notice, there's no floating TikTok watermark on these videos that you would normally get if you used the built-in, mobile download TikTok video feature. So you get the full resolution without the annoying watermark that could trip up your OCR analysis. And another thing I just want to note that really sets this approach apart from something like doing it on the web is this is just running now. And because we have this, completely stacked out task list, I can just do other things in the background while this is working. And then I can check on it periodically. I don't need to sit here and monitor the scraping process, because not only is this scraping not using any tokens and not running up any API costs, it's happening in the background, and the work tree is set up as such so that in order for the next task to begin, the dependent tasks above it have to be completed and marked as such. So it looks like task 2 is now starting, and it's moving on, it's moving on from the first part of task 2 to the rest. So now I imagine that it's trying to figure out how to approach the Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram videos. But it looks like TikTok is done, and it looks like YouTube is done. And it says it's got 30 videos, 15 from YouTube, 15 from TikTok, but Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook all failed. Okay, so now it's going to ask me a question. How should we handle this? So should we proceed with YouTube and TikTok only? Should we do manual URL correction, or should we use another plugin or skill called browser automation? And this is one of my favorite things. So I'm going to say, yes, let's use browser automation. Okay, so now it's going to actually open up the web browser on my desktop here, and it's going to use my web browser logged in as me or some special account that I've created for it or whatever you want to do, and it's going to manually go through and extract the video URLs from our 3 failed platforms. Okay, so instead of using the baked-in Claude and Chrome extension, it's just going to use Playwright, which is already installed as a package anyway, so we'll see how that works. And there it is. But we're not logged in. So I'm going to say, give me a chance to log into each platform before you start so that we get the full access. Okay, so we are now logged into Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and I'm going to let it know I'm logged in on all 3. Take it away. And you can see it's already navigating to Mayor Mamdani's account, and it's going to look to the media tab, and it's writing JavaScript to do all this. So this can be a little bit finicky at times because it has to deal with the DOM of each website, and that can differ. So it might trip up a little bit. It tries to scroll and get a sense of what's happening. And as you can see, that's happening completely independent of me. And if I just turn my camera back on here, you can see hands are off the keyboard and it is still doing things in my browser. So it's getting a sense of the Twitter media tab for Mamdani, and then it's going to get to work once it has a sense of it. So we'll just let it run and watch. I don't know if you caught that there, but I noticed something that it wasn't immediately able to identify. It is that the videos can be identified by looking for a little timestamp in the bottom left corner of the media thumbnail. And I told it to just start at the top and look for the most recent 15 videos or media files that have that little timestamp in the corner. And it agreed. It said, all right, let me try that. So now it's going to go ahead and do that. Okay. And it's finished Twitter, and it's going to move on to Instagram now. And there we go. We're starting to see the Instagram videos rolling in. Let's do a quick spot check to make sure that we're actually getting video, and we are. Excellent. That's what we wanted to see. And you'll notice that in addition to the actual video files, we have JSON files here with a bunch of computer nonsense here that the computers will be able to read. And in reality, it's just metadata, the height and width, resolution for each video, some caption text information, anything that was included in the batch download via YTDLP. And here comes Facebook. Excellent. Here come the Reels. Let's do a spot check once we have this full file downloaded. Again, to make sure that we're getting real video. Sort of my type here. And boom, there we go. We've got real Facebook videos coming in. And I just want you to pause and think about what we were just able to do in less than 40 minutes from starting our prompt to now. We've been able to not only go through all of these social media pages from the mayor, but extract not just the videos, but high resolution videos, no watermarks or any kind of other accoutrement on top of it, and detailed JSON files for each video across all 5 of these platforms without spending a dollar, without spending a dime, without going to sketchy websites. All we've had to do is guide and nudge the model while it works, and then we can work on other things in the background, and then when we're ready, it's ready, and we keep moving forward. That's before any of the processing. So just take note of that and appreciate you could not do this in the browser. So let's go back and check on our friend here. So that should be wrapping up over here any minute now, and then it'll move to the transcription process. And there we go. Task number 2 is complete. We have 76 videos downloaded across all 5 platforms. Let's wrap up. It's going to verify that this task is done and move on to task number 3. Okay, now it says here, we're going to move to task number 3, transcription. This is GPU heavy work. It's dispatching it now. So if my video crashes, I'm just going to stop and save this segment just in case the video crashes, because I've been recording for about 47 minutes and this is going to be a little GPU intensive. Okay, so it actually did sort of crash OBS in trying to have this thing run, pretty much maxing out my GPU while having OBS running. So I just checked the video and it's crashed. It's still maxing everything out. It's also decided to start using the front-end design skill that's from Anthropic to build out the dashboard skeleton while it runs. But it is maxing my RAM and it is maxing my GPU, and OBS just could not keep up with that. So I opted to sort of close OBS. I just want to pop in here and let you know that this is real time. This is happening. This is actually going on my computer. But alas, 60 frames per second on OBS just was not able to cut it while this thing ran. So we'll be back in a second when it's actually finished, but I promise I'm not cheating. Okay, one more update here. It has determined that if I were to let this run using the large Whisper model, it would take anywhere from 1.5 to 3, maybe 5 hours to finish the transcription. So it's given me an option to switch to a turbo model, which is smaller, but gets almost as much accuracy. And so it's going to save its current progress, and it's going to kill the current running large model, and then it's going to restart and pick up where it left off with the turbo model. I'm doing this all locally on my computer because I have the hardware for it. But there are also possibilities where you can use any of the 3 major frontier model providers, OpenAI, Anthropic, or Gemini. All have batch processing APIs, which are cheaper for you to use. They ship them off to their GPUs, run them quicker and cheaper than your normal token processing. The only difference is you can't do it as part of your Claude subscription or Gemini, Google subscription or whatever. So we're going to, again, let this run and start on the turbo model. That should cut our time down. But if you were going to be doing this for real and you wanted to guarantee transcription accuracy and all that, you have a variety of options that you can use that don't just require you to do this locally on your machine, or if you don't even have a machine that can handle it. Okay, we made it. We're back. We've got full completion, 0 failures. It's got to rename some files. It's doing some frame extraction. We've got all 76 videos. Oop. Now it's going to do the content or the frame extraction and content analysis back to back. But while that was running, it also went ahead and created the dashboard. So that is ready for receiving the data. So Next step is underway, and we are back to recording at 60 frames per second on OBS here. While this is processing, let's go ahead and see what we've got for our dashboard here. We've got a video catalog, a transcript search, topic analysis, sentiment distribution, and a cross-platform comparison, just waiting for the data to come in so it can be wired up. And we've got a little breakdown here. So this doesn't look too bad. This is the result of the front-end design skill from Anthropic, but this is looking good. This is exactly what I asked for, as well as this video catalog here, where it's going to be, I guess, allowing us to browse all of the videos and then click to expand and then read the transcript. So pretty happy with that so far. So far, so good. We can see that it's breaking down in this JSON file here. It's broken down the topics discussed both per platform and overall. Seems like he is mentioning the budget, housing, and immigration the most. And then per video, we have breakdowns here as well. This is looking real good. We've got our summary here, 76 videos, total duration, each platform, the platform count, the sentiment analysis, neutral, negative, urgent, or positive. Most of them are positive or urgent. This is exactly what we would expect to see. Top words used. Exactly what we would expect and hope to see. And then you can see it's using Playwright again to go ahead and browse what that looks like. It's populating the dashboard for us, and it's previewing it. So this is rendering. If I click on one of these, it expands and we can see the full transcripts, some information about each platform. We can filter. Oh, it's refreshed. And now it's going to continue populating the rest of the sections here. I'm going to let it do its thing and not interrupt it. It gets a little mad when you start clicking around. It is done. The only thing that it doesn't have here is task 5. So let's say, what about task 5? And it says ready to start the vision analysis. That'll be the most time-intensive remaining piece. I'd read frames in batches and annotate the on-screen text. Why don't we cluster the images into grids of 3 by 3 so you can examine them in groups even faster and see the relationship transition from one frame to the next. Again, this is something that I might say later when we get to the next part of this, when we're making our skill, to say, in the future, make sure that you are batching these properly. And we can add that to our skill so that the next time it goes to analyze images or frames from a video, it will do that automatically because it'll remember from our skill context injection, hey, this is a more efficient way to do this. And it's so funny to me that it's still calling me Senator Joe from the last time. But I would say overall, this looks pretty damn good. I might organize these transcripts a little better. I might have it do a pop-up modal instead of an accordion card. This is looking good. And then I'd also probably change the color scheme here of the filters or the different categories. I'd like to see some more variety. These two are almost identical. There's a red one and then there's 2 blue ones. That's something that we can note for later. Again, also adding it to any design or front-end skills that we have or data analysis. Let's go ahead and see if this works. It does. Look at that. Transcript searches. And then I would want to add some interactivity here. Want to make sure that I can click. I would also like to have links for each of these videos and any references or citations so that I can see the original online and make sure that all the references are correct. I'm liking these animations. I'd like more color and variety in the data visualizations here. I can see I can filter, I think. That doesn't seem to do anything. This is nice. Just shows our sentiment breakdown. This does kind of make it seem like urgent is the same as positive or negative. I would like to see some better overlays there. I like this top word breakdown, but this is screaming out for a visualization as well. But overall, considering the breadth and stretch of what we just asked it to do with, remind you, a single prompt at the beginning and some slight nudging here and there, but very minimal guidance outside of that superpower skill for our planning and brainstorming, this is over the course of less than an hour and a half, for spending absolutely zero money, all verifiable and traceable. So vision analysis will take significant time and tokens, even parallelized. How do you want to handle this? Let's do, for now, let's do a sample analysis, and then we could, run this overnight if we needed to. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to save myself a little bit of time so I don't have to sit here and then speed up the video for you later. And now one thing we're going to want to do while this is running is say, while this runs, let's update our claude.md file and our README to match the current state of the project, and to log any lessons or other insights we learned from this process. Okay, so everything is done. It says it's still waiting on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, but now we're going to transition to turning this stuff into skills.